Long Island medium, the child of Larry Caputo Jr. and Theresa Caputo, is gravely unwell. The kid of Larry Caputo Jr. is in the hospital due to a serious illness. Leah Manch, his wife, works around the clock to take care of him. However, the scenario has been attributed to Larry Caputo Jr.'s wife by his relatives. They claim that the child's condition significantly worsened because Leah failed to provide the child with the care that was necessary. However, the child will need to remain in the hospital for a few more days, according to the doctor. In addition to Leah Manch's diligent efforts, the physicians are doing everything they can to help the child get better. Everyone in the family hopes that the child will recover quickly and return to the family, despite the tension that exists during this trying time. Leah Manch sat next to the hospital bed, her face displaying signs of weariness. Little Luca, her kid, lay there with monitors attached to him that beeped incessantly, a terrible reminder of his precarious state. As she devoted herself to his care, she seldom ate and hadn't slept well in days. Rumors of blame reverberated through the hospital hallways outside the room. The family of Larry Caputo Jr. accused Leah of neglect and blamed her. They whispered, if only she had been more careful, Luca wouldn't be like this. Her son was her main concern, and she had no time for disputes, even though every remark felt like a dagger in her heart. Larry Jr. struggled to balance the demands of his family with his love for Leah. Their statements caused him to distrust her, even though he knew she was doing everything she could. As their stress increased, the hospital room, which was already heavy with anxiety, became oppressive with silent words. One evening, the doctor came in with an update as Leah was holding Luca's little hand. With a comforting smile, he stated, Luca is showing signs of improvement. He still needs time, though. Leah let out a big breath, feeling a little relieved. She never gave up on Luca in spite of everything. And as Larry Jr. observed her, he came to the conclusion that Leah wasn't at fault. She sacrificed herself to ensure their child's survival, and she was the one keeping things together. Leah and Larry came to a silent understanding when Luca opened his eyes and gave his mother a feeble smile. In that instant, the stress, the doubts, and the accusations all subsided, because their child was ultimately all that mattered, and Leah's love for him was evident. But Emma and Lily were big fans of Long Island Medium and Impractical Jokers. They had grown up watching both series, marveling at Theresa Caputo's amazing ability to communicate with spirits and laughing at the Joker's antics. They therefore didn't know what to expect when their favorite Joker, Sal, invited them to a special occasion. During a fan meet and greet, Sal had met Emma and Lily, who spoke about their late grandma, who had been a strong believer in the afterlife. Sal chose to set them up for a surprise reading with Theresa Caputo herself, because he knew they were in love with her and wanted to play the best prank possible. On the day of the surprise, Sal informed the sisters that they would be blindfolded and led into an unknown area as part of a brand new Impractical Jokers program. They said they were excited but a little anxious. They removed their blindfolds as they entered and saw Theresa Caputo sitting in front of them, her long nails and trademark blonde hair shining in the light. Lily and Emma let out a gasp. No way. Lily covered her mouth with her hands and muttered. Theresa grinned. Hey ladies, for you, I have a very unique message. The sisters started crying right away. Here, I sense a very powerful presence. An elderly woman who is devoted to you both and fiercely protective. Does that make sense? Lily and Emma looked at each other, their hearts pounding. Grandma? Emma's voice was tremulous as she asked. Theresa gave a nod. She is displaying a pink rose to me. Did she send you pink roses all the time? Lily broke down in tears. She gave us pink roses every birthday. Sal was watching on a monitor, his typical sly smile giving way to real emotion as he hid behind the scenes with the other Jokers. What had begun as a practical joke was becoming a very moving experience. Theresa proceeded to share sincere words from their grandma. revealing information that nobody could have known. The sisters clung to each other's hands while laughing and crying. They experienced a profound sensation of calm toward the end of the reading. At last, Saul entered with a sly smile. "Okay, I was supposed to be pranking you, but this turned out way more emotional than I expected." Lily and Emma started laughing while crying. "This prank is the best ever," Lily declared. Saul laughed. "You guys got impractically emotional." Hugs, pictures, and Sal's pledge that the next practical joke will only be laughed at rather than wept marked the conclusion of the moment. But there was a hint of sage in the air as Theresa Caputo sat in her comfortable reading room. Emily, a young woman sitting across from her, was holding a tissue in her hand, her eyes sad and desperate. Theresa inhaled deeply, opening herself to the energy all about them. The room was suddenly filled with a heavy presence. It was deep, regretful, and yearning for a relationship. A young man is approaching Emily. He feels a strong connection to you. A sibling? A best friend? Emily's fingers clenched around the tissue as she gasped. "Jason, my brother. Last year, he committed suicide." With her palms tingling from Jason's increasing energy, Theresa nodded. "I can tell he's really depressed. He wants you to know that leaving you in anguish was never his intention. Although he was engrossed in his own misery, he now recognizes the abundance of love all around him. He apologizes, Emily." Emily's face broke down in tears. "All I want is for him to have spoken to me. I would have assisted him." Theresa's tone grew softer. He is now aware of that. On the other side, everything is so apparent to him. He wants you to forgive him, but he wishes he had stayed. "You were never at blame for this." Emily nodded and wept. "I just miss him so much." Softly, "He misses you too," Theresa said. "However, he remains with you. He plays Yellow by Coldplay for me." Emily took a sharp breath. "He loved that song the most. When I was feeling down, he would play it for me." Theresa grinned. "He uses that to let you know he's still alive. Remember that he is with you every time you hear it." Emily exhaled deeply and tremblingly. She experienced something other than grief for the first time since Jason's death, tranquility. Reaching out, Theresa took her hands. "Emily, Jason wants you to survive, to rediscover happiness, and he'll be there, keeping watch over you when you do." Emily felt a bit less burden in her chest as she walked out of the room. The gentle tune of Yellow started playing as she climbed into her car and turned on the radio. Despite her tears, she grinned, she was still with Jason. But in Theresa Caputo's reading room, Jim O'Hare sat tensely with his hands clutched together. Theresa's vibe put him at ease, even though he had always been skeptical of mediums. Sitting opposite him, the Long Island medium gave him a warm smile. Theresa closed her eyes and whispered, "Jim, I have to tell you, I'm feeling a strong presence here. It's someone who had a great sense of humor, just like you." Jim laughed, but his expression darkened. "That could be a few people," he acknowledged. Theresa's face became softer. "I'm being called Bill or Billy? Does that have any significance for you?" Jim's throat tightened with breath. "My uncle Bill. I was essentially reared by him. A few years ago, he passed away." Theresa gave a nod. "He is displaying a deck of cards to me. Have the two of you played cards together?" Jim's eyes filled with tears. "Every Sunday evening, we would discuss life while playing poker." Theresa grinned. "He's saying you were always terrible at bluffing." Jim chuckled despite his tears. "That is accurate. I always had the worst poker face," he added. Theresa went on, "He wants you to know that he is still keeping an eye on you and amused by your poor bluffs. Above all, though, he expresses his pride in you, Jim. He witnessed all of your self-doubt, but he never did. He still doesn't too." Jim let a single tear fall down his cheek. "I always wondered if he knew how much he meant to me." Theresa said in a soft tone, "He does, and he's always by your side." Jim took a big breath and wiped his eyes. He said, "I didn't expect this to hit me so hard." Theresa squeezed his hand as she reached out. That's the power of love. It never really leaves us. Jim felt as though a burden had been removed as he walked out of the reading. He was skeptical when he first arrived, but now he wasn't so sure. All he knew was that he had a renewed sense of genuine connection to Uncle Bill for the first time in a long time. However, Theresa Caputo showed up for a private reading session on a cool Long Island fall afternoon. Emily and James, a young couple, sat nervously in front of her, their hands clenched together. They thought Theresa could deliver a message because they had lost a loved one. Theresa closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. She let out a gasp almost immediately. "I'm seeing a young boy. He's about 2 years old," she stated with assurance in her voice. James and Emily exchanged startled looks but remained silent. Theresa went on, "He was born with a special birthmark. On his left shoulder, it resembles a tiny heart." Tears clouded Emily's eyes. "That's Liam, our son," she muttered. 2 years ago, he passed away. There was a birthmark in the shape of a heart on him." Theresa grinned broadly as she sensed the child's soul was very much present. "Liam wishes to let you know that he is constantly by your side." "Does it indicate anything that he constantly showing me a stuffed elephant?" James put his hands over his lips in shock. His favorite toy was the one. He needed it in order to sleep. Theresa nodded, comforted by the relationship. Then she stopped. "He's uttering a name, Leo. No, Leon." Emily gripped James's hand while crying. "We were going to name the baby Leon, but we just found out we're expecting again." Theresa's eyes filled with tears. "Liam wants you to know that he is keeping an eye on his younger sibling. You're never by yourself." An overpowering feeling of peace and affection enveloped the room. Emily and James understood then. Liam was still with them, leading them from the other side. However, Barbara Corcoran entered Theresa Caputo's reading room on a cool autumn afternoon. Theresa's energy put her at comfortable, even though she had always been dubious about mediums. Theresa closed her eyes and inhaled deeply as the cameras rolled. "All right, Barbara, I sense a powerful male presence immediately, someone who served as a mentor in your life." A beat skipped across Barbara's heart. Her voice was hardly heard as she muttered, "My father?" Theresa gave a nod. "Yes, but there's another person as well. He's showing me a phone, a desk, and a large thing that made all the difference in your life." Barbara's eyes filled with tears. "John, my brother. It was him who encouraged me to launch my real estate company. He gave me a $1,000 loan, which I used to build an empire." Theresa gave a soft smile. "He's really pleased with you. I always knew you'd make it, Babs," he says. Barbara cried quietly. John used to refer to her as Babs for that very reason. Nobody else did. "He's showing me a small, tattered book. Does that mean anything to you?" Theresa went on. Barbara let out a gasp. "He used to jot down all of his thoughts in this tiny notepad. He had it with him at all times." Theresa gave a nod. "I see you still have it," he says, over face in her hands. She still had it, a cherished remembrance of her late brother, hidden away in her nightstand. Barbara was crying toward the end of the reading, but they were tears of consolation. She said, "I came here a skeptic, but I'm leaving with a full heart." Barbara's hand was gripped by Theresa. "Barbara, your brother never truly abandoned you. He has always supported you." The feelings persisted even after the reading was over. Knowing that her brother was still keeping watch over her, Barbara felt lighter as she stepped outside into the crisp air. Greetings, dear viewers, greetings from my channel. I'm Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.